I don't feel alone. You just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig. Hey everybody, this is Marty and welcome to the Feels Like Home podcast. This week, we had a chance to sit down with Chad McAllister and Jarrod DePugh of Metropolis Design Studios and Midway Sign Company. And these two guys went to high school together, sort of knew each other. Funny story about that we'll get to in the podcast. They found themselves working out together and decided to start bouncing ideas off of each other about their design, graphic design and website design. And it turned into a wonderful partnership. So we hope that you enjoy this conversation, find out about one of our local businesses that's having some success and really care about how Chillicothe looks visually in the digital space. So again, Metropolis Design Studios, Chad McAllister and Jarrod DePugh. We hope you enjoy.
Well, we are excited to have the founders, the grand poobahs of Metropolis Design Studio with us today. And it's actually Metropolis Design Studio, Midway Sign Company, and Star City Press.
Right.
All three wrapped into one big package of greatness in Chad McAllister and Jarrod DePugh. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
What a heck of an introduction. One big, beautiful package.
Yeah. Sure. All right, maybe we
doesn't mess around,
edit that.
He doesn't mess around.
It is great to have you guys here. You know, we were just talking right before we started, I think, about the relocation and community guide that you guys did for the chamber out there right now. It's on our website, but you want to get a physical copy of this because it is magnificent. So number one, I just wanted to thank you publicly on the podcast for that because literally that is a transformative piece that I hope does as much for you guys as it already has done for us. So I think it's just a great job.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually at first it was a little intimidating when you first brought that idea to us. We were kind of like, oh, wow, this is like a, cover to cover, fully produced product. And, the more we talked about it, the more we delve into it with you. I mean, it was a labor of love for sure. I mean, we have a huge fondness for this town. I mean, we're both local. We both grew up here. And to be able to, put it on display like that and have a whole magazine dedicated to the wonderful things that are going on. I mean, it was a fun project. So we were happy to do it and we're glad it turned out so well.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of jump into your story a little bit because you mentioned you're both from Chillicothe, and I think what we've tried to do with the podcast is just capture the great stories of these folks that either were here and left and then came back, or some machination of that, or maybe never left but have started at one place and then went to another, and and so on. So, Chad, I'm going to start with you because I know obviously you're a CHS grad, went away to UK. And then you came back after that, but you didn't start out as a designer. I guess you started out in your family's business. So talk a little bit about that and kind of how you progressed through there and what that meant to be in your family's business and what that taught you.
Sure, yeah. So I had every intention of when I left to come back and work for family, to work for my dad's business. And that's exactly what I did. I graduated in 4 years and came back and opened up Dakota's Roadhouse, got married, and immediately decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And so I moved back to Lexington after about a year of being here and realizing the restaurant business was a lot more difficult than I ever thought it was going to be, especially newly married. And then did some banking in Lexington. And then my dad asked me to come back and work for him in a different capacity, which is so funny because I did, and then ended up in the restaurant business again.
Yeah, because you went back to hotels, right?
So I I came back, and I was in like what you would call, I got my real estate license, kind of like a management program. I learned bookkeeping, and then ended up opening up Roosters in Chillicothe, and then or in Circleville first, and then in Chillicothe, and then that's where I really got the marketing bug. Actually, I'd favored doing marketing in other jobs, like when I was in Lexington, and when I was in the banking business, that I was doing flyers and just random things. I think it was always my destiny to be in marketing, but I just didn't know it yet. I was kind of still stuck on, following in my father's footsteps type of mindset. So, I opened up Circleville, Chillicothe, and did some outside marketing, really enjoyed that, and then was told that I was going to run a hotel. So I ran a hotel for 7 years. And I just had, at that point, I was 34, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just not what I need to be doing. And Jarrod actually tells the story the best, so I'll leave
all right, I like it.
I'll leave that part of the story up to him.
Like a tag team. This is cool.
Yeah, and so I went back to school for web design, and knew that was readied myself for my way out, and found a way out, and since 2016 we've been doing this thing. So yeah, I think that I had always kind of had intentions of coming back to Chillicothe, though. I think it's just a place that, my dad's not from here originally,
Right.
but he's always talked so highly about living here, and how he just drove that home, that it's just an important place to be. It's a great place to be. And so I guess maybe that just stuck with me. So it was always my intentions to come back here. I'm not doing anything that I thought I would be doing.
Right.
But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
What are the gaps that he didn't fill in there, Jarrod?
Oh, I think he's just referring to how we got involved and how we became business partners.
So did you guys know each other at all before, like you?
So I graduated a little bit before him in CHS. Okay. I don't know that he. Sorry, there's a great story there. I don't know if that's appropriate, but anyway, in high school,
I mean, you got to tell it, Jarrod. So that's fine.
We've not edited this podcast yet, but maybe we're about to start. So,
all right, I'll tell this. Let me tell you, this is a lot of stories to get to the story, but here's one of them. So I knew of Chad in high school. And apparently he did know of me, but not in a very favorable way.
Okay.
So, just to kind of fast forward, we had been business partners. We started doing this thing. We were kind of hanging out. And it's probably been like 6 months of doing this. And we're at the Paper City Music Festival, probably the last one they had. At the time, I was working marketing for Goodwill, and we were sitting at this table. And he goes, "Hey, let me ask you a question." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" He goes, "Did you make out with my girlfriend in high school?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, my girlfriend in high school. Did you make out with her?" And I was like, No. And he was like, "Well, she said you did." So apparently there was this whole thing where she had told him the story about Jarrod DePugh. So the rumor Jarrod's awesome, by the way. But anyway, rumor Jarrod made out with his girlfriend, and apparently he's hated me for a very long portion of his life.
But was able to overcome that and start a business.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's the craziest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I truly was over it, but I still had to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you embellished the anger part of it.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah, it was at first I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he was so deadly serious, and I was like, "Oh, no, I don't think so." But yeah, definitely not.
All right, so back to the story. Now, wait, you graduated from CHS as well.
Correct.
Did you stay here? And
yeah, so I graduated in '97, which apparently seems like a lifetime ago. And I ended up staying here. So I graduated from CHS. I got a scholarship to go to OUC. I mean, I wasn't really my family is all blue collar, you know what I mean? So college wasn't one of those things that they really were like, yeah, you need to go to college. It was always, here's your work ethic. Here's here's the tools to be successful in the work environment. So I went to OUC for a while. At the time, I got a job at Sun TV.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the day.
There's a throwback.
Yeah, and I my first job was in shipping, so I was doing like loading cars, loading TVs, refrigerators, things like that. And my personality. I mean, I like to talk to people. So then the sales manager of the computer department was like, "Hey, you ever thought about being in sales?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, you should give it a shot." So I ended up going into sales, and then, at the time, I'm 18 years old, and in retail, you can make a lot of really good money.
Yeah.
So immediately I was just kind of like, "Oh, this is for me. I'm gonna work retail and make all this money." And you learn quickly that your soul slowly starts to erode. And you just get, oh my gosh. I mean, it's just one of those. And then at the time, Sun TV went out of business. H.H. Craig had bought them. They had hired me back as a home office manager there. And it's just, the whole commission sales. It's just like, I made it. And then the month starts over. And then you just do it all over again. So I did that for the longest time until I actually ended up at the phone company at Horizon. So I got hired in back when the telephone company owned the Sprint network. So I ended up doing tech support there, worked my way up to engineering. I was an engineer when I left the phone company, ended up back in retail. And that was kind of what kind of got me to here. It seemed like every 5-6 years, it was like a reset button. You know what I mean? Like, you would get laid off, things would change, mergers, all these things would happen. And I just got really tired of, all right, now what do we do? We got to rebuild this all from scratch again. So at the time when I had met back up with Chad, so I was working, I ended up at the Sprint store. I was there for a long time and ended up getting a job that I really wanted at Goodwill. I was the PR marketing director for Goodwill. And my whole life I've been doing art and graphic design and things like that. I actually was really convinced I was going to be like a painter or a pencil artist growing up. Yep. Like that was my passion. When I was a senior in high school, I was very fortunate. There was a new art teacher that started. His name was Brent Elam. Started a class called commercial arts. Right. So this was like my first introduction to this idea of graphic design and using design to tell stories and to sell things and stuff like that. So really that stuck with me. So being in retail and stuff, I was doing merchandising and things like that. Those are the parts that I liked. So anyway, I ended up getting a Goodwill, and this was the first time I got to use my design skills and that kind of, using that psychology of marketing. And it was awesome. But it was just kind of like that same old thing. You're going, it's 8 to 5, you're doing it for somebody else. And at that time, I did a logo for, was it Chillicothe CrossFit then? Yeah. So a friend of mine was going there and said, hey, they need a logo. I was like, hey, I could probably do this. So I ended up doing the logo and they gave me a free membership, right? That's how my early days were. It was a barter system. Yeah. So I ended up going, and the only way that I could ever do it is I went to the 6 a.m. or was it 5:45? 5:45 class, right? So I go to this 5:45 class, and there's 2 other people, and one of them's this guy.
Okay,
right. So immediately I'm like, oh, I know that guy. That's that Chad guy from high school.
I made out with his girlfriend.
I made out with his girlfriend. Yeah, he doesn't know. But,
don't tell him whatever.
Yeah. So we ended up doing this CrossFit thing, and then for a while, there was a lot of times it was just he and I. So you're running around this little gym, and you're just kind of talking. And I mean, I had never really had talked to Chad. I just knew of Chad. You know what I mean? So as we were kind of talking, he tells me, hey, I'm going to school to do web design. And immediately in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of awesome, because I get a lot of people that ask about web design. I have no idea. I mean, I'm good with computers. I love technology, but coding, stuff like that, it's just not my thing. And there's a whole part of the brain that I just don't have. So we kind of, kept talking about it. And I was like, hey, I have this little freelance thing that I'm doing. You think you'd want to maybe team up and maybe we can do something with it? So we had coffee and we kind of just fleshed out this really rough idea of what we wanted to do. And, that was forever ago. And now it's so much more than what we anticipated. But that was kind of like how it happened. We just kind of, met back up. It kind of clicked. And I mean, I've said it's the partnership works so well because, I'm all like, yeah, let's make it pretty. Let's do this. Let's think outside the box, all that stuff. And Chad has that same, but then he also has that business side, right? And that's the thing that I've always lacked. I understand business, but I'm always be like, I'll do it for some brownies. You know what I mean? Because I want to do it. I like to do that stuff. Yeah. So the partnership just works out well because we do balance each other. It's very yin and yang. And I think that's why it's been so successful, and it's evolved. I mean, we started out doing just web design, flyers, graphic design, and then it became, we can do some marketing. Mm-hmm. People were asking us questions, and then it was, creative thinking and things like that. And then it just kind of evolved, and here we are now, and we've got a handful of employees in a building, and it's been awesome. And it's great to be. The thing that I'm talking a lot, I know. This is what I do.
It's a podcast.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're hoping for.
But the thing that I've always said, which I still just cannot get over, is the fact that our business and the people that we employ currently still is 100% supported by Ross County.
Yeah.
Which is something that I never in a million years would have thought, because I did retail and I did the things I did because that didn't exist here. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of graphic design jobs. There wasn't a lot of marketing jobs specifically here that you definitely couldn't get your foot in the door without a degree. Right. So to be able to create this and have it become what it is, and then be able to have people, like we have a couple employees that we're doing that for them now. Right. We've created that opportunity for them, and these are the things they wanted to do. And it's just real exciting that it's just all still within that local community. And we love doing things for Chillicothe. I mean, we're very active in a lot of things that we do. We love to work with nonprofits and stuff like that because it's important to us. It's important to us for Chillicothe to succeed. It's important for those nonprofits to succeed. So it's been it's just crazy to think where it all came from. If I just wouldn't have made out with Chad's girlfriend, we never would have been here.
And that's going to be the theme of tonight's podcast, is that running joke. And then of course, it was right before COVID that you added Midway, right?
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead and talk about that, Jack, because that was a fascinating part of that. When I heard about the acquisition as it was happening, unfolding, I thought, well, it makes a lot of sense. But there's a little bit more to it than just designing the sign.
Yeah, come to find out.
Yeah.
Surprise.
No.
And I didn't realize that it was these guys until I called them and was wanted some work done. And Chad answers the phone.
Chad?
What? Sorry.
Surprise. So I think one of the reasons why we've been successful is because the details matter to us. And I'm somewhat of a perfectionist when it comes to the details. When I hand something over to a customer, my name in my head is literally on that piece of art. And so it's important to me that it looks and is perfect in my eyes. So we were always looking for partners that, kind of had those same standards. And we were using a local sign manufacturer. It was Creative Signs and Awnings, a guy named Steve Feltz. And, been around for, it seems like forever. He's had a couple different named sign companies in town. And he just did fantastic artistic work. And he called us up and told us he was retiring after we had created a partnership with him. And we were doing some signs, and, we were reselling his work, and it was working out really well. And so we, I don't know, in my head, something happened, and I called up Jarrod one day and I was like, hey, why don't we think about talking about buying a sign company? He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I think we could do it. I said, if we get all the right pieces together, all the right people, I think that we can make it work. At the time, Metropolis was hitting its stride, and we had a little bit of extra cash, and I just thought of something we could do. And so we got all the pieces together, and March of 2020, signed the papers and bought Steve Feltz's company and renamed it Midway Sign Company, and for about a year, it was kind of just doing all right. Actually, we kind of luckily, unfortunately, we weren't able to get any of that great economic money because our business wasn't old enough yet. I mean, we didn't have any employees. So we kind of like missed all the marks and got $0 for it. So we were just kind of on our own and chugging along. And then in February of this year, the person that I had hired to do the job at the sign company decided that it was not, well, it wasn't what was for them, and moved on. And I decided I was going to hand over my web designing duties to one of our employees, Amy, who does an amazing job, and I started running the sign company 100% in February, March. Well, it kind of started out like 50%, and then realized that wasn't going to work either. And, you know, luckily we had built a great team, and we are all in one building, and it seems to work.
Yeah.
I mean, there are 24 hours in a day, so I've got at least that on my, I got that for me. And we're making it work. The signage business is interesting because, like before, you know, let's say it's a flyer and you mess up and you put the wrong date on something, or you misspell something, you know, you may be out, you know, $100, $200 or something, whatever, to reprint it, or usually on a website, it costs you nothing to fix a problem. I love that about web design was, you know, hey, just a second, I'll fix that, you know?
Right.
But with the sign business, man, it is interesting. It is, but it's forever. Like, you drive by those signs every day. I drive by my work, every day. And so there's another whole level of standards when it comes to the sign business. But, that's what I want to hang our hat on when it comes to Midway. I want to be known as, you know, somebody you can come to if you want something that's artistic and something that's unique and original. And that's what we kind of want to be known for. And that's what we're striving to do.
It's interesting mix of businesses, because I think that there are some great sign companies out there that are great at making signs, but maybe on the design side they kind of fall short, and maybe they outsource some of that.
Right.
But the fact that you have Metropolis that can jump in and help create some really fantastic designs, because you're doing both, like, I think that puts you in a unique situation.
Yeah. So I remember the moment that I realized that I remember the moment I realized that there was probably an opportunity for a web design marketing company. There's already a couple good companies in town, but there was, one in particular I thought was doing a really good job. And I was like, I feel like there's a space for more. I was sitting in a visitors bureau board meeting that I was on, and we were getting quotes in for web design, and they were like just ridiculous. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I could do this. And I think there's a market for this. Because we were considering like these really, this is what we were considering. I was like, so, what happened. So I was like, I think we can, that's where the whole idea from, having it was from seeing that and realizing that I thought there was an opportunity in this town. Well, same thing with the sign company. When we were sitting there, I was like, man, I think there's an opportunity. Like, I think there's a space for us here. We're not going to get rich off of any of what we do here, but I feel like our mission in the beginning was to make Chillicothe look better. And so everything we do, from Metropolis to Midway, and we do apparel, we do shirts and hats and stuff like that through Midway, and then our Star City and our publication stuff. That's just our passion. So
the fact that you mentioned you just want to make Chillicothe look better, I think there's always been a need for that here in town. And back in the early days when I worked at Horizon, and that's where I met Jarrod, we did a lot of these things. We had a web design department. We were fixing computers from the computer solutions division. And I feel like we were a little early to the game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That didn't go, Horizon decided to go the fiber route, which was probably the smartest, decision that they made over the years, and let some of those smaller business units go. And I felt like it was right at the beginning of where Chillicothe was starting to see the need of spending some money from a marketing standpoint, spending money on websites, and the design, and that being important. Because back then, there were a lot of front page sites out there because it was cheap and people could do them on their own, and they could edit them on their own, but they looked really, really bad. And we would just say, here's what we can produce. And everybody go, wow, this is amazing. And then you start throwing out prices, and our prices were cheap compared to what, what people pay.
I know.
What you were seeing those bids come in.
It's insane.
So
we're still not to that level yet,
Right. Well, it's still, the market is still short when it comes to that pricing and understanding what's involved in making a high quality website. I think that you guys are prime for just making Chillicothe look better from that standpoint.
Feels Like Home, sponsored by Horizon. We'll be right back. For more than a decade, Horizon has been developing fiber optic broadband solutions for healthcare, education, government, wireless carriers, data centers, and enterprise customers across Ohio and surrounding states. With state-of-the-art technology that provides the highest in speed, reliability, security, and redundancy, Horizon's innovation and flexibility continues to help businesses do what they do better. These evolving applications are making fiber the new standard for reliable connectivity, even for the smallest of enterprise businesses. To learn more, visit horizonconnects.com. And now back to Feels Like Home, sponsored by Horizon.
Right. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand, when you get to those different things, like, yeah, sure, you could make your own website, or sure, you could, your nephew's cousin's friend can make you a cool flyer. But I mean, there's something that I think that what we do really well, what I think we pride ourselves on, there's a lot of psychology involved with this, right? So when you're making a website, it's important for it to look nice, but it also has to flow. How does the end user experiences, right? And you got to do, different colors mean different things. Yeah. Different pictures, or invoke different emotions. So there's a lot to that design process that I think people like, oh, we just need to get a flyer, right? But what does that flyer need to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think that gets lost a lot. And that's definitely why, I was really trying really hard to do what I'm doing, is because it's the same thing, right? I want these things to be successful. Right. And people sometimes take that part of it for granted. Like, yeah, we got a great cause. But you got to get people's attention, and you have to be able to tell your story, and you have to be able to get those dollars and that interest. And there's a lot to that back end that people, as we work through this process. So our process evolved so much from when we first started. Originally it was like, hey, we do logos, right? But then we got into this concept, we do branding. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference between that. The logo is, the picture or the image that kind of represents you, but your brand is who you are.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
Right. Yeah. So there's a whole lot more to that. So that process, as we get new clients and new customers, I think that's the first thing that they kind of go, wow. Yeah, I never thought of that, because you're walking through that process, and we ask questions, and we have these little questionnaires, and we like to do our face-to-face or a Zoom meeting and talk to people before we just start designing. And as you work that process, you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying now. So I think that when people just kind of want, hey, how much does that cost? We're always very hesitant to be like, well, this is the cost. We want to talk about it first, because it's typical sales, right? You want to sell the benefits first before you get
that's your first question, then you probably should go to Fiverr or someplace like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things I think people don't appreciate. And I think that that's something that's always served us well. And you brought that up with the sign company. We're designers first, right? Anything that we do, the first thought we think of is, how does this affect the end user? Right. It's not so much as how it helps the business up front. It's what's that product do for the end user? So from that design standpoint, that's always served us well. And I think the other thing that I say to people all the time, I think what makes us most dangerous is we don't know what we can't do. Right. Mm-hmm. So we don't have that limitation of, well, no, no, we're always of the mind of, okay, well, if that's what you want, this would be cool. How do we get there? Yeah. And I think that's something that's always served us well. And I don't know that a lot of our employees are real comfortable with that sometimes.
Sure. No, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Because we're both very much, we love the challenge of it. And we love the idea of, okay, this is what you want. This is what it could be.
The only thing we've ever turned down, I remember early on, was we started getting a lot of questions about IT work. And Jarrod and I both have IT backgrounds. And as a matter of fact, I still actually run IT for CP management because, and but that was the one, I remember that conversation. We were like, should we? And we're like, no, we got to focus, man. We got to stay focused on doing websites and logos.
You get swamped real quickly.
Yeah, you could. Yep. Yeah.
No
and that's just,
it.
most of that's just busy work. So, but when, I was going to lead into saying that I really love it when people do get it though. When people do get it. And, a good example of that was, Metropolis, had kind of, done a couple things. We got Tecumseh, and we were, locally people were starting to recognize our work a little bit. We got a call from someone I didn't know yet, but a guy named Chris Scott, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this magazine thingy that I want to bring to town, and I've got a name, but I need a logo, and I've seen your stuff, and I really want you guys to design my logo and do all my ad work in my magazines because I want this thing to look right. I want this thing to be the best thing." So we ended up doing the logo for Great Seal Living and then Great Seal Sports, and we got an opportunity to do all the ad work, a majority of it anyways, in that magazine, which ultimately led to Jarrod and I both partnering up with Chris and running, helping run those magazines for a couple of years. I guess our names are still on it. Yeah. We still do some things. We're just not as involved anymore in those magazines. But, I think that's an example of someone that just got it, that good design work will make a difference. Mm-hmm. And, it's always really good feeling when people come up and talk about that stuff.
Anytime that I see a poster or a flyer or something, I can pretty much tell if you guys have done it. Like the typography and the color and all of that stuff. There's such an attention to the detail on that I instantaneously know it was yours.
That's awesome.
And so, I think that's a great tribute to you guys because, any fool can jump on the internet and find a program. I know Jarrod loves it so much, but and you could create something.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's going to look kind of like everything else. There's a, and this is just, it's like a insider baseball chamber thing, but there's a guy that does chamber social posts and he just creates social posts. But I can, I subscribe to probably 50 different chamber pages on Facebook because I'm curious about what they do. And I bet I'll see that post tomorrow on Thanksgiving.
Right.
On 20 of those 50, and they're all going to look the same. And, I know I'm not getting that with you guys. Whatever you're creating for us is not being created for somebody else. Or if it is mirrored in some way, it's going to look a lot different for them than it does for us. Right. Because us.
Right. And I think that's something that we've really, at least I've been trying to be intentional with. Like I like to take every project and be like, okay, well, we kind of have a style for the chamber, right? So there's some similarities between everything we designed for you guys, but also every project stands on its own. And I think that's something that I've tried to be very intentional with because I hate that too, right? I hate lazy design. I mean,
Yeah.
And I like
it.
the idea of, it's a challenge of it, right? Every time it's a different approach. Yeah, I did this last time, this would work, but hey, how can we push the envelope?
Yep.
And we've tried to do that like with Tecumseh. Tecumseh's a great example. Tecumseh, it was, I'm just a kid from Masseyville, right? So, one of my big dreams was, I want to do a Tecumseh poster. That was something I grew up wanting to do because I loved the artwork that was always associated with Tecumseh. So when we landed that project and, Brandon was like, hey, let's just test the waters, design this CD cover for us and we'll see where it goes. And, we did that and they loved it. And to be able to, we're on our, is it sixth season now?
Yeah.
And if you look at those posters, there's a little bit of a similarity, but each one is different. And I'm really excited about this season because it's the 50th season, right? So we're doing all kinds of really cool things. So the poster, I really wanted to be different from the other ones. And it's not exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because you do have that give and take with the clients.
Sure.
But it did turn out really well. So to be able to just have, I always say that's my art project, right? Tecumseh lets us just pretty much do whatever we want with their stuff because they trust us. Just a little side story. I think this is fantastic. My mom and dad were at Frisch's having breakfast. This was 2 years ago. And mom says that these guys behind them were just kind of chit-chatting, talking like, hey, you're going to go see Tecumseh, blah, blah, blah. And they were just going back and forth. I don't know who's doing their posters or marketing lately, but it's really been really good. Have you seen that stuff? And my mom tells you this. I'm like, that's awesome because you want to be recognized. I'm not.
I'm surprised she didn't turn around like that's my son. Okay.
That's my boy.
Does it. Yeah.
I know exactly who does that.
I think ultimately that's the tribute is when you have that trust. I think with a client in particular, where they're not concerned about what they're going to get. They may modify it. Like you said, there's some give and take there. But when they're like, hey, 50th anniversary, let the big dog eat, right? And they're like, let's go. That's pretty cool, Yeah. So
I think that Tecumseh is an example, and I really wanted to bring this up, and especially sitting with you, Mike, is that our biggest champions to date have been the Chamber and the Visitors Bureau. Actually, the whole Tecumseh thing, Melody set that meeting up for us. And so, our local groups have invested so much in us, and we wouldn't be where we're at without the Chamber and the Visitors Bureau specifically, because we get a ton of our leads from you guys, and quality leads too. I would say a majority of those leads usually lead up to something, so thank you, seriously, thank you for all that you do and all your hard work, because we're a great example of where it's paying off. We definitely would not be where we're at without you guys. So.
For sure.
And then, of course, I threw that project at you, and then you just decided to create a whole new company based on it, which is, I don't want to take credit for it, but toot my own horn here, but toot. No, I think that product, as we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast here, I think has scratched the surface for you guys, and I think, not only, obviously we're already starting to. Our heads are turning already about what we can do with the next one. But I think, you show that around to other people and they say, whoa, you know what? This, if we're doing it for, Kenworth or Adina or anybody else, hey, we would like to see something for, our group or other chambers, other visitors bureaus, those types of things, to me, are really where the rubber's going to meet the road for you guys. Do you see Star City becoming I'm sure right now it's not equal with Midway and Metropolis and Star City, but do you see that evening out, or do you see they're all of them rising at the same time, or how?
Yeah, I think, as far as the business side of all of it, if you break it down, it's never going to really stand on its own. I don't think, not without like spending a bunch of dollars on sales, and
having your own ad reps, things like that.
Yeah. So, I like the idea of just taking on, take on, 6 to 8 projects a year with it, and just really invest in those, and just being that piece of the puzzle, that Jarrod gets to flex those muscles on. I think, as creatives, and individuals with ADD, we're in the perfect world.
Yeah.
We have the perfect job for our disorders, I guess you can say, because, my biggest fear with the podcast is that I can go into a conversation and I will end up 5 miles away from where I started and not remember where I was.
What was the question again?
Yeah, I know, right? And I'll just be like, and so that's great, thanks. At the end of it. And that really tailed back to where I was going. But, with the creative stuff, it's like we get to do something different all the time. Every day is a new challenge. And so yes and no. With the Star City, I don't know. Like, we don't say.
I mean, Midway probably takes up quite a bit of your, obviously 100% of your time right now. But
yeah,
I mean,
with Metropolis, I basically just am a consultant at this point. Come in and fix any website issues that Amy may need help with, or and I still do all the accounting and bookkeeping for all the businesses, and
But Midway's getting that time from you because you have a good problem. You have a lot of work coming your way from a Midway standpoint.
Yeah, we do. I'm 100% surprised. Like, you go into a business and with no experience. I have zero sign making experience. I really have zero fabrication. I mean, I've built stuff at home, built a shelf once, Same thing. You know what I mean?
Thing.
Like, so, but
it can still be art.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is art. It's abstract art.
Like Picasso designed this thing.
No, but it's surprising. Again, Chillicothe shows up and Ross County shows up and is supporting us, and we have some of our work out there, and I think people are really starting to notice what we're doing. And again, I think it follows that standard. But man, I get to drive by that stuff every day. It's so weird. We just did a sign for Siegel Square, which was used. They had that's a unique. Actually, the whole project was unique. With Kevin came to us and was like, "Hey, I want to rename this thing. I want people to stop thinking of it as
because it was the old kitchen collection."
But yeah. So I pulled some research. These people, the Siegel brothers, used to own it. And he goes like, "I need help making a name," and he sent me the research. We read it over, and we thought, "Oh, actually, I think that works." And so we helped him kind of confirm a name for it, and then we came up with a logo. And then we did the sign. And so basically, that was a project that we helped a client from, just the various, very, very beginning of naming it to, putting the signs up. We got a chance to do some things that we've never, I got to build Wayfinder signs from scratch. Things we just really got to flex our muscles on that design. But I get to drive by that monument every day. And although we didn't build that monument that the Siegel Square signs on, man, it just, we were able to reuse what was there, and it's super sharp. And I just think about that every day, like driving by it, so, but man, if it sucked, that would be horrible too. I would drive by and I would literally but the thing is I would waste all my money and go redo it. And, if you're a client of ours and you've worked with us, Marty, that, if I'm not happy with the product, I'll rip it right off the wall and start right over, and I'm on my dime. And because, every one of my customers, anybody that's believed in us and given me $1, I want to make sure that they're getting everything they've asked for.
Yeah. Are there any white whales out there for you guys? People that you're itching to design for, do work for?
There's nobody offhand, but I've always said we have on the Metropolis side, we have a weekly, like a staff meeting, and we kind of daydream and talk about stuff like that. There's no one in particular, but it's just the idea of everything we do right now is, a lot of clients, it's a shoestring budget, and we're used to doing that, right? We're used to telling the stories at a cheaper cost. And I always say, with one client just has, just a ton of money and just like, hey, I need all these things. What can you do? Because there's a lot of things, Metropolis, we do design work, but we also do a little bit of video work. We're starting to get into that, video editing. I would love to make commercials and things like that. So there's nobody offhand, but just that idea that, someone will come to us like, here is 100% of our marketing. Here are the people we want to reach. How do we do that? And we could come up with all these really, creative ways to do that.
Yeah.
We always thought it'd be cool to get Pixel. As we've gone through the different names, but, and we did get we have an opportunity now with their client of ours, and I'm getting to work with them. So, so that's really cool. And, we've always talked to be really cool to have, one of the largest hospitals in, our region. But those are dreams,
Sure.
I think that, I don't know exactly where we land. I don't know if we are a large business, marketing firm. I think we're like this mid-size business marketing. We understand small business. We understand very well how everything works in the small business world, and maybe that's just where we stick and stand. Again, I think that we just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, knowing your niche and knowing your audience as a small business is like 90% of the game, right? Like, I mean, you could sit there and say, all right, let's pursue this big project. Let's expand into Columbus. Let's do this. Is that going to work? It's a huge gamble at that point, right? So knowing that and staying within that, but then also saying, whenever somebody comes to you with some crazy idea, like doing a relocation guide, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, let's try it.
Let's figure it out. I think that's something that we've never tried to force it. That's always been really good for us. It's always been a slow burn. Metropolis was a slow burn. We never, like he said, we never started this with the idea that, hey, we're going to be, independently wealthy and make tons of money. It was about, getting to do what we wanted to do.
Right.
Another thing I've been telling our people at work is, you hear all these stories about how much work it takes to get the dream, how much you really got to put in the blood, sweat, and tears. But then what they don't tell you is you got to work twice as hard to stay there.
Yeah, right.
So, you get there and you can't stop.
Yep.
There's no stop. And we still love it 100%. And I love coming to work. I love what I do. But, you kind of come to grips with the fact that there's never a point where you just stop. Mm-hmm. You've got to keep looking ahead, and you've got to keep trying to, challenge yourself. I think that's where some businesses do fail, is where they get to that point and they're like, oh, we're here.
Yeah.
And then they don't maintain it, or they don't try to push it.
I think that's how we got into the business with, specific like web design. No one had changed the way that they were web designing in this area. Mm-hmm. Nothing was mobile friendly. Nothing, was responsive. Everything had weird tones to it, and so it left the door open because they had gotten to one specific style and just figured they'd stick with it.
Yeah.
And it didn't grow, with how the trends grow. I mean, those marketing trends, web design, everything just changes so much, often,
and those cycles get shorter and shorter all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, I feel like that is very true.
Yeah, like the whole population is becoming just like you guys, ADD, and they that cycle of how long a website continues to look fresh and new and feel good when you visit it. It's way shorter than it ever used to be.
Well, and I think it's my kids, they just have no idea. It's just this is how it's always been.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think it's that whole fast food, quick service lifestyle that we all live now. It's constantly in your face. It's constantly there. It gets to the point where you almost take it for granted. So you do have to be a little creative. You have to be a little scrappy. You have to kind of how do I get that 15 seconds of attention? and say what I need to say.
And when, like what you were talking about a minute ago, like when the thing you love starts to get a little grind to it, that's when you really you find out if you really love it or not, right? I mean, when I got to the point with newspapering every day, when it wasn't fun anymore, I knew I had to get out. And, I think you found that when you're, all right, I want to do restaurants. Wow, restaurants are really a grind. Maybe that grind's not for me, right? And it takes a while, and then you find your thing that's a grind that you love. And when you love that grind a little bit, well, that's where you found your vocation in your career. And I think you guys have definitely found that. It feels like a great fit. It may not have felt like a great fit at the beginning. There's some unresolved issues there.
Right.
To bring it back to the joke they were going to tell. But boy, I mean, it has certainly turned out great for the community and turned out great for the businesses that you're serving. I've seen you guys transform businesses from just sort of like going through the motions to being vibrant businesses because they decided to really invest some time and effort into how they presented themselves digitally or, on flyers or whatever. So,
and it comes back to how important it is to both of you of how they appear,
right?
And that they look the part. You help them get to a whole new level, and it's important to you. It's not just. And it's just another customer that we have to, got to take care of. That you are fully invested in that, and I think that's what makes you different. Yep. I mean, a story I have about Jarrod is a few years ago. We were in the last episode. We talked about to the cast of Miracle on 34th Street, and I jumped in and did this musical a few years ago with White Christmas, and it was my first time, and we talked about how my favorite thing that I ever did as part of that was I journaled. I did these video journals, and I get this text from Jarrod just randomly one day just before the show started, and he's like, "Hey man, I saw your show poster, and I know it's got a job to do. It's just got to let people know about the show, but I wanted to design you like a proper show poster." And he sent me this beautiful piece of artwork that like I was a mess. I mean, he sent that to me, and it took me 15, 20 minutes to recover just to even be able to respond to him. It was a wonderful gift. Just showed how you care about the community that you're serving and how important it is to you. To take that little extra effort to do that was just a wonderful gift. That I'll never forget. It was just, it still means a lot to me to this day. Still hangs in my office at work. That's fantastic. And I love it. So
yeah, watching your video journals, I mean, you had spent so much time and so much effort into that. And I was just like, oh man, I want him to have something to hang on his wall so he could look back and be like, yeah, that was totally worth it. So I'm glad that worked out the way it did. Because when I first said I figured I didn't want to be like, hey, come on.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that all worked out because it was really cool to watch the whole process.
I appreciated it, and it meant a lot. So,
well, guys, I want to thank you for coming in. I think you guys are doing a great job. I think between Metropolis and Midway and Star City, like I think your future is bright. Keep doing what you're doing because it's working. I feel like, again, like you may feel like 4 or 5 years into this thing, like you're kind of rolling a little bit, but I think there's another level for you guys to go to. It's a challenge, I think, but at the same time, I think you've got a great team around you too, which is to your credit. It's not easy to pick the right mix of people, and people come in and out sometimes, but I think you guys have tried to roll with the punches for sure. So, really want to thank you guys for coming on, and again, just thanks for what you're doing for local businesses and organizations.
And what you do is important.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already